I'm sorry to be the one dragging you from coffee and networking. I know how valuable that is, and you always feel that that's too short, so sorry about that. But I hope that you will feel energized and eager to continue the discussion, because I think this is, even though I don't speak Finnish, I think this is such an excellent event, and I think this is what we need. We need to join forces, and we need to speak together in order to do so. So I'm really happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me. So, how can a bank like Nordea engage in the topic of biodiversity? I think it's three things that we can sort of lump it into. First of all, recognizing the challenge, to embrace the fact that we are eroding the values upon which society depend. We need to take action, we need to join forces with others, and we need to start incorporating biodiversity into our business for real, and we need to accelerate fast. I think that this slide is sort of something that I've shown to, I think, almost all levels in Nordea by now, from the board, our leadership team, core functions. And I think it's so important that we all recognize the challenge, that the scale and rate of biodiversity loss is in fact threatening global stability with huge implications. And I also love the donut-shaped sustainable development goals, clearly showing that our economic system is so dependent on stable ecosystems, because we need the services to reach societal goals, to build this society that we want to live in. And also to recognize that the planetary boundaries are being we are overshooting, like I think someone else said earlier today, that we're already past some of the planetary boundaries, and we're into territory that we don't know, and therefore we, of course, risk very, very large values. And also that it's not enough to stop business as usual. We need to reverse. We need to build back nature, illustrated by the graphs at the middle in the bottom there. And if that wasn't enough, we also need to embrace and recognize that biodiversity and the climate issue is intertwined, mutually reinforcing, and must be solved together. And I think that is the vehicle by which we are now integrating a lot of the work in the bank, because we have been working quite a lot with climate already, as have many organizations. And now we need to build on this important block of nature, biodiversity. So this is something that I think, really recognizing the challenge, you need to embed this realization. You need for this to sink in. Then I think it's very important to take action, of course, and to join forces with others. Because even though Nordea is a big bank, we're the biggest in the Nordics, it doesn't help. We can't invent this wheel ourselves. We need to join forces with others. We need to join forces with the expert community. We need to join forces with peers, so that we create this common language and this way of working that we can actually scale a momentum. So what we've done is that we launched a thematic guideline, which is a way for us to say we have a position, we recognize our responsibility to take action, we recognize that we must contribute to societal goals, to the global biodiversity framework goals. We need to take action, and also to sort of incorporate biodiversity into our business, that I'll come back to. We also joined forces with experts, like I said. We have been part of developing a guidance for banks on how to set nature targets. It's a journey. The financial industry is not used to setting these kind of targets, and that's why we need to sort of work together to forward the field. And within the bank, our investment side is sort of a front runner, and they have been working with sustainable investments for quite some time, and now they're building on that way of working together to build a greater force together with other investors in initiatives like Finance for Biodiversity Pledge and also Nature Action 100, because it's together with other big investors that you can really scale your impact. They have described their work and their commitments going forward in a separate white paper that you can also find on our webpage. The same goes for the thematic guideline if you want to find more information. So what do we then need to do to incorporate biodiversity into our business? Well, it's about recognizing that it is a dependency, that we in our value chain depend on nature, which involves risks if nature fails us. We need to recognize that there is also an impact on biodiversity from our value chain, upstream and downstream, and that there are related risks with that, but also opportunities. And I really want to stress that there are also opportunities. And when we incorporate biodiversity into our business, we need to do it in all the way to the strategy, to assess our strategy, to actually develop strategy that delivers on this. But we also need to build it into our governance structures and our risk management as a bank. That's a huge thing, to manage risk. We also need to include it in our stakeholder engagements. When we go out and discuss this with customers, we need to know what to say. So we need to incorporate that in stakeholder engagement, to be clear on what we expect from our clients, what we expect from the companies that we invest in. But also stakeholder engagement like this, I mean, to have dialogues with experts, with other parts of society, to get ideas and sort of engage in this topic. And we also need to include it in our offerings, and I'll come back to that. Some key enablers that I think are common for almost all organizations. It's about the training, to make this a topic that is relevant for many in the organization, and to have the dialogue, because it's through the dialogue that you can actually also get this reinforcing positive loop that you get ideas from each other. We also need methodology, and that's something that is currently, a lot of people point to that, and I think that it is true. We need methodology. We need data to assess this dependency, this impact, and these risks and opportunities. How to quantify it? I can just say that my colleagues love Excel. How do you get nature into Excel? That's my big challenge right now. So any ideas, please. So that's really like to meet each other in the language that is the common one. Sorry. And again, communication, to be. Am I messing this up? I just realized that maybe I am. Is it working? Do you hear me? Okay, sorry. I didn't realize it slipped. Sorry. Communication, to be humble, because it's so easy to be wanting to be a bit bold, and that can always be a bit dangerous. But also to be bold, to say we don't have all the answers, but we still want to talk about this because that's the only way we can move the needle. So this is sort of where we are at. We're not ready by no means. We just started, but we need to accelerate this journey. So what kind of activities do we do that requires us to do something different, and where we need to start doing things differently? Well, of course, it's with our investments. We're making investments in companies all over the world, so we have a global outreach. We need to identify those companies that have a high sustainability performance, but also those that are not, because that should be that is part of our investment strategy, to work to invest money in the best companies wherever they are. And there we need to, of course, incorporate nature biodiversity perspectives a lot more. And because that's where we can also have an impact. If we go in and invest in a company, we become one of the owners. We can engage in voting processes. We can nominate people to boards, to committees. So it's a way to influence companies by coming with the money that they need. Of course, there's also about exclusion, saying which companies do we not want to engage with, which do we want to exclude. And I think that it's very important in when it comes to investments, that this is an area where there's great opportunity to join forces with others. Like I mentioned, the Nature 100 or the Finance for Biodiversity Pledge. That's where we can join forces with other banks that also want to end deforestation or other aspects of our use of nature that is not acceptable, that is driving biodiversity loss. So that's where we can also build momentum together with others. Own operations. Yes, we are a big bank, we have a lot of offices, but I would say that's not where our main impacts are. That's mainly in our investment and financing side. But of course, we should take responsibility also for our offices to look what we can do. We do have beehives on some of the offices, but I think it's important to perhaps in that space more look upstream, to look at the sourcing we're making, to make sure that the computers we buy are produced in a good way, etc. So that is something that we're also working with to take responsibility upstream in our own operations, but it's mainly within financing and investments where we have the biggest impact. And then on the financing, that's the loans that we provide to companies and to private individuals, mortgages, etc. And we're a big bank in the Nordics. We have a lot of companies in our portfolio, and we want to work with the best companies, of course, because we believe that sustainability is part of a good business strategy. And that's why it's so important to have engagements with them, to sort of make sure that they are future fit, to make them understand and make them start working, not make them, but encourage them, and in sometimes actually also push them perhaps to start working with this topic in a systematic way. And there we have a different financial products, of course. We can have green loans, we can make green bonds, or we can facilitate green bonds, and we can also be a sort of intermediate between investors out there in the world that wants to invest in companies that are performing well. So we can also issue green bonds, and sort of package green bonds and facilitate money flowing from people who want to spend their money in good companies, making a difference, and companies that do. And in that process, I think it's just so important, coming back to the data and the tools, that we must rely on, we must be able to rely on sound data and to avoid greenwashing, because we are in a business of trust. People need to trust the bank. We have supervisory expectations. Society care about what banks do, because otherwise the costs are huge. And we don't want to make those mistakes again. So it's about fulfilling those requirements, that we need to make sure that what we say is true. When people put when someone puts money into a pension fund that claims to be beneficial for sustainability, that needs to be true. So that's why it's so important to have these reliable data sources to be able to prove that it is actually driving a good transition. And transition finance is really the big buzzword right now, where we know that not all companies are perfect, and there needs to be a transition. There needs to be a journey away from what's bad and to improve what's already good even further, and to find new business opportunities. So that's why I think it's so important that companies start setting ambitious, relevant targets also on nature, because that's why we can link, that's how we can link to sort of financial instruments, loans, or other forms of financial instruments, to link them together with those that want to invest. So it's really a lot about data. Coming back to the Excel sheets that we need to fill with something. So I think I'll stop there and just sort of, this is where we're at, and I think it's really, really important that we join forces also to find those good ideas and to sort of try to be innovative, because we need to scale this transition within banking and society. We need to speed it up. We need to really accelerate fast to stop and build back better. Thank you.